romantic, go-getting guys are in love with a hard-to-get girl, the wedding march is sure going to be paced by the battle hymn of the Republic.
I like him loose.
And what in the...
Oh, now. Have a wife? Connie, I've loved you for a long time.
Connie, I think Carl is just about one of the nicest fellows I could ever hope to meet. But I think you ought to marry me.
You know a man named Steve Mason?
What's the matter? Did something happen to him?
He's down at the precinct in a lot of trouble. He claims you might be able to clear it up.
The romantic relationships of the parties involved have nothing to do with this case. You've got nothing but the weakest kind of circumstantial evidence.
What's he got to do with this, anyway?
He's my attorney.
Well, he's my fiancé. We're to be married New Year's Day.
And what were you doing in the park with this guy 8 o'clock Christmas morning?
Hello, I am Bob Sham.
I'm Angela.
And you are listening to what is now called Movie Humpers. But we've already set this announcement that we will be changing our name to The Projectors. If you're seeing it, we already got the banner on the video. We're slowly transferring. Yeah, we're called The Projectors. We're going to be. I think it's okay.
I like it.
I can see if you first hear it where you're like, what does that mean, right? Movie projectors, the projects.
We're projecting our opinions
our bullshit
out into the world.
Out onto things, yeah.
Yeah.
The Projectors is what we are, it's what we do. But we are saying goodbye to Movie Humpers. And it's not goodbye to the show's just different. We've really been needing, I should have just thought a little harder than just like, okay, it's called Movie Humpers. But it feels good to get away from the cum drip font.
Mm-hmm.
I just want, I don't want it to be too obvious that this is stupid. You know what I'm saying? But we're after Christmas. I hope everyone got all the things that they wanted for Christmas. And I hope if it's bad that you're still here with us. But yeah, we got through and we're on the last leg. We're on the last 2 episodes of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And starting New Year's Day, we're going into our next theme, which we've already announced. It's called 5 Directors. And our first week, we'll be talking about the first 3 David Lynch movies. So starting New Year's Day, it'll be Eraserhead, The Elephant Man, and Dune, packing out the rest of the week.
These are maybe the 3 David Lynch movies. The only 3 I haven't seen. I'm so excited.
I've never seen The Elephant Man, but I have seen Eraserhead and Doom, but it's been a very long time, so I'm excited to revisit those. But today we got another holiday because it's still
the most wonderful time of the year.
All for the rest of the month or the next 2 days. And we got another one of my favorite actors of all time is in this movie, Robert Mitchum. I love Robert Mitchum, and we also have a movie with Janet Leigh. We've been seeing her pop up here and there.
I loved her in this.
She had a prime career from this point up throughout the 50s. She let Tony Curtis bust raw in her, and then Jamie Lee Curtis was born.
Yeah.
And then you had John Carpenter,
Mm-hmm.
The rest is history. Tony Curtis busts raw in Janet Leigh. The rest is history. We're talking about the movie Holiday Affair from 1949, directed by Don Hartman, written by Isabel Leonard, based on a novella by John D. Weaver, starring Robert Mitchum, Janet Leigh, Wendell Corey, Gordon Gebert, Henry O'Neill, amongst others. Cinematography by Milton R. Krasner from RKO.
The novella was called The Christmas Gift, which would be a better title to this movie. The Holiday Affair, I get why it's called that. They're trying to play up the love. And there is love.
Is this riding some Hays Code? Is this riding that Hays Code line? Because we established in Holiday Inn that a lot of these old movies, until the ring is on the finger and the I do is said, it seems like any woman is fair game.
Yes.
With this presumption, which is stupid, that no one's fucking. No one's consummating.
No one's fucking in this. That guy has never spent the night. He makes a big deal about how they're going to neck on the couch.
That's going to be a wonderful evening. Got it all figured out. We're going to have dinner, take in Moss Hart's new show. Then we're going to go home and be sure Timmy's asleep. And you and I are going to sit on the sofa and neck.
After they're engaged. After they're engaged is when they get to neck on the couch.
I think that's one of the dumbest aspects of the Hays Code is that it put forth this very Catholic
puritanical
notion, but people weren't like that at any point.
No, people have never been like that.
They saw a hot woman, they got hard, they've wanted to put it in. It's never not been like that. So the only difference is that maybe they just didn't talk about it as much as they do now. But that's the only difference.
Imposed perceived morality.
Everyone's a fucking hypocrite, and the priest telling you not to do it, or looking at your grandkid like he's a piece of fucking Christmas goose.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just get so mad.
I know.
About the Hays Code sometimes.
Let people be fucking.
I'm just going to assume, I don't care what Hays Code era movies presume, that everyone is like busting.
I don't believe that she had sex with her boyfriend from the beginning because he didn't really care when they broke up. I mean, he did, but he didn't. Do you know what I mean? They were more friends because they had never gotten that far. He never saw her naked. When
we get into the we need to break down this movie a little better, but when we get into the conflict of them between Robert Mitchum, Steve Mason character, and Wendell Corey's Carl Davis, that tension is a lot of fun to watch.
It is.
And play through, especially with the little boy involved. They do their damnedest to make sure that Wendell Corey's character, I mean, you don't ever think he's a bad guy.
No, he's a great guy.
But they make sure that they preserve his sense of character through the notion of sacrifice, which we'll get into here.
This story has a lot of bits that we could really get detailed into, but this is another movie where someone in a relationship has a meet cute with someone and falls for them immediately and tries to push them away because they're trying to do what is right and proper and expected by marrying this super nice guy who's a rich lawyer who wants to take care of her and has been trying to be with her since her husband died. That's the other reason she hasn't fucked anybody, because she's still so in love with her husband. I mean, not that she shouldn't be. She loves him. But he's been dead.
He died in the big one.
The kids never met him.
The
kids 8 never met him. Or 6? They say at one point. I can't remember. Whatever. It's been years. And this lawyer has been dating her for 2 years. Trying to get up in those pantyhose.
Yeah. And he's even willing to discipline this kid, Timmy. Their names are Connie Lingus and
Jesus.
Got him.
Mrs. Ennis and Mr. Ennis.
Yeah, and
she calls her son Mr. Ennis. It's very cute.
And there's a criticism that by I think both of the suitors that like she's hanging on a little too hard to the past and trying to, and she should let a man in her life instead of trying to put her son in the position of the man of the house.
It was interesting
but Timmy wears those pants so well. Those britches.
At the end, he's the wisest one of them all. But it was interesting to see that aspect of a single mother and son told in this way, because it hasn't gotten to some sort of like weird fucked up place. He doesn't have any weird feelings of resentment towards his mom. He's still very young. She's still trying to figure out what she wants. But calling it out at that point, it's like you call him Mr. Ennis. Everything is
Her
you
son.
and him.
She calls her son Mr.
Yes,
Ennis.
her son. Everything is the two of you. You don't want anything to change. You want it to be just the way it is. And she realizes at the end that that's not going to be feasible because her child says to her, what are you going to do when I go off and get married?
Right.
What are you going to do, Mom? I mean, I might move away. I'll come visit you, but I might move away.
As a, looking at this in a modern, maybe a more modern perspective, my feeling on it, I guess, would be like, she's all right. If she falls in love, she falls in love, but she's all right.
Well, and here's the thing. Yeah, everything's fine. They're adorable, these two. They have a good relationship. She doesn't really love Carl, or this wouldn't have happened.
But everything's not all right because she's got to taking money from other stores to go buy items from other stores to do comparison
She's
shopping.
a secret comparison shopper,
and then she's got to bring them the items back and be like, I need a receipt for this. And apparently other stores will ban you if they catch you doing this.
Well, yeah, because the whole thing is you're going to the other store to see what things cost and what their quality is so that you can one-up them.
Imagine all the actors in the history of film. Which one is best suited to run the toy department of a store? It's Robert Mitchum.
All right, gentlemen, what do we do now?
Make it snow again.
All right. How's that?
Could you wait on me, please?
In a moment, madam.
I'm sorry, but I'm in a hurry.
I'm afraid this gentleman was here before you.
I know, but I want to buy one.
Well, I have no reason to believe this gentleman's not a potential customer. Sorry, Senator. The lady seems to have friends in high places.
He actually is really good with the kids.
He is really good with the kids.
I'm a bit of a homer for Robert Mitchum. I don't feel like he can do that much wrong.
Is Robert Mitchum
a dog?
A dog?
Hell yeah, Robert Mitchum's a dog.
Hell yeah, Robert Mitchum's
Congratulations,
a dog.
Robert Mitchum, for making the dog list.
You're going on list right now, Mr. Mitchum.
We'll need to figure out which ladies are our dogs.
I was just thinking that. We
There's
need
gotta be
some
lady
ladies.
dogs. We let it naturally come, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We let it naturally bust. So stupid. So stupid.
Yes.
So Robert Mitchum, the swag king, is great with the kids, and he wants to more formally sell this train, but she just wants to take the train sight unseen. And he's not explaining that he's reading this perfectly, but he is. And
he knows what she's doing because she's not good at her job. She walks up and says, I want this train with all of the parts, and I have exact change. Give it to me now.
Now, her and Timmy, T-Dog, Timmy Ennis would be a pretty great dog, you know. But Timmy, he gets clothes every Christmas.
Because they don't have any money.
This kid actor's very funny.
Oh, what you do all day, Mr. Ennis?
Oh, I played with Joey in the park.
Oh, that's good, darling. What'd you play?
Oh, we threw rocks at girls.
Timmy.
It was all right. We missed them.
The mom brings the box sealed up. She leaves the room with the box with the big train in it. He opens it up and it's like, oh my God, I got a fucking train. That is awesome.
He is like
Over the
telling
moon.
his mom.
What are you laughing about?
I just feel good.
What do you feel so good about?
Oh, I don't know. Christmas, surprises. I just feel good, that's all.
Christmas is wonderful, honey. But you can't expect miracles or even hope for them.
The enthusiasm.
I'm so happy. I love you so much.
This kid is one of the best actors that really just embodies that kid vibe. And he's like a little stinker without being too much, you know?
Yes.
But his mom explains that, no, this has to go back to the store, what's in this particular box. She doesn't know he peeked at it yet.
She doesn't know he peeks at it for a long time because when he realizes it goes back to the store, he just like
mopes back
held it in and never told her he wanted it.
So she's going back to the place to do a return. Robert Mitchum sees right through it. Robert Mitchum is Steve Mason, and says that he can't really take the return except under certain conditions or something.
Well, he tells her he knows her gig.
Yeah.
He's like, girl, I know what you're doing. And if I give you your money back, I will I'm supposed to report you. They have a department that you report these people to. She starts saying like, but I'm a single mom and this is my job and I have a son and, all of this.
So no questions asked. He takes the train back from that point on.
Gives her the money, but
the guy who runs the department has already eyeballed this lady. They already know what she's up to. So Robert Mitchum gets fired. Mm-hmm. And Robert catches up with her while she's trying to do another thing at another department. But he's helping her out this time to get what she wants, to get the item to compare shop or whatever.
And he actually tries to coach her because now he's fired from the store. He tries to coach her like people don't know exactly what they want. You can't just walk up and demand something that you saw in the paper. You need to pretend like you're looking.
That's how I shop. That's how I shop. There's something I want to get it, and then I want to fucking leave as fast as possible.
But you might want to at least see it before you hand the money over.
No. So they have a nice meet cute. Like in Serendipity, they have a big meet cute.
He takes her to the zoo for lunch.
They go in front of the seals. They eat at the seals at this part of
Central Park.
I guess they had seals in there back then hanging out.
If you had told me that England could keep me for 2 hours or a couple of hot dogs.
Come on, I'll help you make up your time. I'll be your bachelor friend, and you be a famous interior decorator helping me decorate my apartment.
All right.
You always make people talk this much?
No. And I don't always like listening this much.
And it's really nice, and you can tell that she's like, I like this guy a lot. But the thing about old Steve Mason is, he doesn't have that much going on for him. He's a vet, like a lot of men his age at this point, and he's got some plans to maybe go back and work somewhere else.
He wants to make boats.
Yeah, he wants to make boats. He's just kind of floating around the city surviving, trying to figure out his next move. He's not like our boy Carl Davis, who's a lawyer and is more of a secure future. But Steve Mason is the guy that elicits passion in our lady lead.
And questions her.
They get split up with a bunch of packages when they're Christmas shopping.
And it's packages for her job. She's doing all her job shopping.
And he recalls where she lives through some communication and shows up at the place while Carl is there with Timmy and her.
Maybe I should have come down the chimney. Where'd you go to, a matinee? I looked all over for you. It's the last time I ever pick up a girl at Christmas.
Oh, I can't really help you with the package.
Oh, hello.
How do you do?
This is Steve,
Mason.
Carl Davis.
How do you do?
They're being polite, and until the ring hits it ain't really too taboo, I guess. He's like just a friend. But Timmy immediately is wrapped up in Steve's charisma.
What are you gonna get for Christmas?
Clothes. That's what I always get. Clothes.
And Carl tries to be a little possessive, talking about like,
I bet you won't be able to wear what I'm getting you.
A camera.
How did you know?
'Cause you asked me if I wanted one a long time ago.
oh, you know what I'm going to get you for Christmas? And Timmy lashes out violently.
Yes, because he knows he's going to give him a camera because he already knows. And he's like, why? And he said, because you asked me a long time ago if I wanted one.
Timmy, I don't think that sounds very nice.
Oh, he didn't mean it the way it sounded. Tim, if everything works out the way I hope it will, you'll be getting a lot of things next Christmas you won't be able to guess.
So the thing is Carl has already asked Connie to marry him. And she said, I need more time. And he said, how much more time? And she goes, listen, if it's a yes, I will ask you. She was starting to ask him when the door rang and it was Robert Mitchum shows up with, and he didn't just remember her address. He serendipitied that shit. He went to like where the department store that he knew she worked at. They wouldn't give him the information. He went and like conned some woman into telling him behind a desk.
Every rom-com is going to be compared to Serendipity. Because that's one of the few modern rom-coms I've ever sat down to watch. And there's 1,000 of them. But we're just going to compare everything to that one John Cusack movie that most people don't even think or talk about. But we did. It hit the sevens for us, I believe.
I found out that our best friends watch it every year.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. They used to go to that place. It's a real place, Serendipity.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So that was like
and they watch it like almost every year.
Oh, didn't know. That's the only other two people I've ever known to watch that movie. But it did make its box office budget. So, but yeah, Timmy's like throwing down.
You don't have to get me anything.
Timmy, you go to your room.
No.
Tim, do what your mother says.
I'm I don't want him. You can't make me.
Timmy!
Now, wait a minute, son.
I'm not your son. You can keep your old camera.
You better go to bed.
And you can keep your hands off of my mother, too.
He gets possessive of his mom. Carl tries to be a disciplined guy, but she's like,
Carl, leave him alone! Carl, keep your hands off my boy!
she gets pissed the fuck off.
And she sends Timmy to bed without supper. And this is the most lovely part. What Steve Mason says, can I say goodbye to him?
Yeah.
So he goes in and he sits down with Timmy and they have this long conversation and he's talking to Timmy.
Man.
Yeah, it's man to man. They're talking about all of it. He even says, like, now, why do you really think you're mad at your mom? He's like a therapist for these two. He tells her exactly what she's doing. He tells the kid exactly what he's doing.
The kid even tells him, like, yeah, I thought I was getting a train, and she ends up doing something else.
Yeah, he was like, I never told her, but I saw it, and I was really sad, and that's maybe why I'm upset. And then as he's leaving, he says to him, hey, I can try to get you some supper. And Timmy goes, Mom always gives me supper, even when I'm bad.
Because he's
That's his little stinker part.
He's a little stinker. So Steve leaves. Carl is talking to Connie like, look, if we're going to be together, I mean, if this happens, I'm going to have to be a father to him and a husband to you. And it wouldn't just be your son, it'd be our son. Connie is so kind of wrapped up in her emotions when Steve coming around. She does that dumb thing where she makes a really big decision when the emotions get flustered and it's like, okay, fine, I'll marry you.
But on New Year's Eve, she sets it a week away.
It's always so fast.
Because it's Christmas Eve right now.
You're right. It's like a week.
So crazy.
Okay, fine. We'll do it. We'll do it in a week. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So then it's Christmas morning.
Hell yeah.
And
the parents are over.
The parents are coming over. But before the parents get there, Timmy comes in and he's like, Mom, you're the best mom in the entire world. I love you so much. I'll do all the dishes. I'll clean my room. I'll cook dinner. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I saw the package outside the door and I just had to open it. He had the train. The whole train with everything. He thought his mom gave it to him. But it was a letter from Santa.
But we know who it's from.
And so did the mom.
So Connie's like, no, I can't accept this. And she explains to Carl, like, yeah, this is from Steve. I can't accept it. I'll go find him. I think I know where to find him.
I'll give him the money for it.
He's in front of the Seals because that's where he lives when he's not at his apartment. She tries to give the money back to him, but he won't. He refuses. You know, he's just trying to be friendly. But he ends up coming back with her. And then they have dinner there with the parents and stuff. And everything's going really well. And everything is cordial. And Carl and... she brings a gift that she said was from Timmy. But what Timmy did was he just took one of the ties that was for Carl. And I guess repackaged it. And then they gifted it to Steve.
I mean, she knew. Because she couldn't give him Carl's other presents. Because they had Carl's initials on them. So the dad tie... is what she knew what she was giving him.
Well, one remembers more on holiday.
No, I know.
The little things and the funny things.
Anything will start you off.
Like Mr. Mason's necktie. Forgive me, Mr. Mason, but it is a bit loud. Reminds me of those that Connie used to give to Guy. She always said, this is a symbol of our wild and fiery love.
Mom gave Steve that one.
Oh, and this is a weird detail, too. He ends up giving his old tie to a homeless man, and then a little girl comes up, and she's got, like...
a gift of salt and pepper shakers.
Because of that man gave her some gifts to give to him. A bit of a contrived little plot point here. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
But later he gets arrested because that man
assaulted
someone and tried to strangle this person with that tie. And the man, all he had on him was that gift of the salt and pepper shakers. And because Robert Mitchum had them, they assumed he did it.
And then she needs to go in front of the judge with Carl's help, who is there because he's a lawyer, to get him not charged for this crime that someone else did with his tie. At that dinner table, before Steve leaves, he stands up and asks Connie to marry him.
I think you ought to marry me. Maybe you think it's wrong of me to speak this way in front of Timmy, but I don't see how it can do a boy any harm to know that two men like his mother. Maybe it's bad taste to speak in front of Carl, but Would it be better if I sneaked around and tried to get Connie behind the kitchen stove? I don't think so.
Because the way he sees it is like, you know, if I'm in love with someone and they're not married yet, I've got to put it out there and at least give it a shot before I leave to California to go work on boats.
I've walked out of Connie's life a couple of times now, and each time something brings me back. Lost packages, train, a cop, accidents. I'm afraid I can't keep counting on accidents. If I walk out now, I'm sunk. I'll never see her again. The way I figure it, when a man's in love with a girl, he's got a right to ask her to marry him. Any girl. Anybody's girl.
She says, you know, I think you need to leave, and so he leaves. Steve's about to go to California, but then we cut to Timmy bringing the train back to the toy store, and a part of it breaks because people step on it in the elevator, but he manages to talk himself up to the head offices of the guy who runs the toy.
Mr. Crowley.
Mr. Crowley. And Mr. Crowley is very charmed by him and ultimately drives Timmy home and gives him the full refund so that Timmy can give to his mom so she can give it to Steve because he's so poor and destitute.
I only got this one train for Christmas. Steve got it for me. He's my friend, and he's real poor, and he hasn't got a job. And he shouldn't have spent his money, and I want to give it back to him. And the lady said that you could help me.
No. Here, take it easy. It isn't going to be as bad as that. Now, come on, stop crying.
He's worried about Steve.
And he couldn't truly afford the train, so he had to return the money for Steve. So, and the parents are worried sick. So Connie figures out where Steve is again to return the money, and before she gets out of the car, Carl goes on this. Carl recognizes she's in love with him. Even though she would probably marry him and not be completely happy,
yeah.
Carl does the ultimate nice guy thing and says, you know,
must be faced by the parties of both parts, however reluctant they are made by their goodwill for each other, wishful thinking, and long-standing affection. I submit that this case is ready for summation.
This case?
It's a divorce case, darling.
So she goes up. You think they're going to come together right then, and maybe it would have been a little smoother than delaying it a little longer, but they kind of have a little argument. And so she walks off and gets back in the car, and Carl's like, oh, is everything cool? And she's like, well, I guess we're both single, now. So they move it along, but he sends a telegram saying that where he's going to be for New Year's.
He's going to be on the train at midnight for New Year's.
And we see Janet Leigh getting gussied up, and Timmy's like, what you doing? And then it cuts to a shot from the outside of the train where her and Timmy are on the train, and they're looking for him. You see him with a bunch of people, and then they finally come together and embrace, and of course, it's happily ever after.
And Timmy's there too.
And they're still poor because he has no job. And I assume they're going to go back to New York, and he's got to find a job again. Or they're going to California with him where he's going to build boats and he can make his money there. Who knows? I thought there was a lot of great characters in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot of charm here. The tension. Wendell Corey actually did a good job at that like casual, polite tension when the scenario is just keeps pulling the Steve Mason character back into their lives until he, maybe a little more conflict would have been kind of cool, but it just seems like it might have been a little a different movie if these men really had to come to blows.
Even when Steve gets arrested, Carl defends him, gets him out of trouble, and then they go back to dinner together.
Yeah.
There's no point where he's like, get the fuck out of here, asshole. Like, he just doesn't do that.
Well, I guess Carl maybe perceives that since Connie is nice to Steve, that it wouldn't benefit him to be a full-blown dick to the guy.
True.
When he's trying to seal the deal here, coming off looking too jealous when she only just, after 2 years, agreed to marry you. So I guess you could see it important like that. But Carl ends up, he kind of breaks up with her, but it's more like he just uncouples himself, like reading the scenario.
I know that as my wife, you be thoughtful, considerate, and confident about everything. About our home, my health, and my career. I have a sneaking suspicion I ought to see if somewhere there isn't a girl who might be in love with me. Even if she's a dumb, frowsy blonde who slops up the house and feeds me on canned beans.
Carl, you've changed.
Been a big week for both of us.
Yeah, and I love the part at the end where everyone has tried to tell her what she needs to do, this whole movie. And at the end, when she's getting ready to go to a party alone, it's Timmy who tells her, you have to get on with your life. And then she says, we got to go do something. And that's when she scoops him up and goes to the train. It's really sweet.
Who wouldn't pick Robert Mitchum, even if he doesn't have a job? You know, that's Holiday Affair from 1949. I was pleasantly surprised by it. I mean, this is the first time we saw this one. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just a Robert Mitchum fanboy, so I'm going to hit around a 3.75.
I'm a 4.
It sneaks into an A-. Holiday Affair, directed by Don Hartman from 49. Is in between the documentary God's Angry Man by Werner Herzog and the Coen Brothers film Inside Llewyn Davis. It's at least as good as those, if not better. We got one last one for the holiday season before we hit up the new year. And it is a purely New Year's movie coming up tomorrow. It was one we watched when we were younger.
Too many times.
Older teens, young adult. It was something we probably liked a lot more back then, too.
Yeah.
But after, like, a lot of movies under our belt, we maybe look at it a little different now. But we're talking about the film Come Back Tomorrow for 200 Cigarette. Yeah, big ensemble full of the coolest people from 1999, man. Including Jay Moore. So here we go. We're going to get out of here. More tomorrow. Check the show notes for links, other places to find us. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think of the film Holiday Affair or whatever your thoughts are. Just, you could type out your grandma's favorite recipes.
Happy holidays.
If you marry him, you won't be Mrs. Ennis anymore. Timmy, I don't think that sounds very nice.